And welcome to part 3 of the 2.1 of the Roman Empire PowerPoint. If you have not watched part 1 and part 2 yet, then go back and do that before you watch this one. We're on part 3. We've only got one more slide to go. However, I didn't quite fit it in on part 2, so here we are with a part 3. That usually doesn't happen, but in this case it did. So we're going to quickly review what you guys already covered and then get to the last slide. All right. Rome started as a settlement. That's right. It prospered due to good trade because of the Tiber River and farming, and it grew so much that they needed a more stable government and ended up developing into a kingdom. And they were a kingdom for a number of kings until they had a mean, nasty king who nobody liked, and his name was Tarquin the Proud. That's right. They ultimately decide they don't like Tarquin and they want to go ahead and revolt and kick him out of office. Okay. They kick him out of office and they decide they never want to have another king again, and they want a whole new type of government where the people have more power. And they ultimately decide that they are going to have a Roman Republic. That's right. That means the power rests with the citizens because they have the power to vote for their leaders. All right, you might recall that we talked about that we have a republic. How does the Roman Republic work, though? Well, there's some cool things and there's some things that are a little outdated by our standards. Remember, women don't have very many rights. It's mostly the guys that get all the power. And you had to be a free-born male. If you were a slave, you didn't have any rights either. But the free-born males could vote. So there's the voting of the Roman citizenry being able to help make decisions and who's going to be in charge. Okay? Don't forget to watch the videos. Do it, do it, do it. All right. How do they limit the power of the Roman government during the time that they're a republic? Well, remember, they have not one leader up at the top, but two, right? They have two consuls. That's right. Two consuls who rule for a year each. One's a patrician and one's a plebeian. So you kind of get everybody covered there, the rich and the poor. To help keep an eye on the consuls and make sure they weren't getting greedy or selfish, and to also just help them create laws and run the government, they also created a Senate. That's right. There's a Senate that's also part of the Roman Republic's government. Watch that video too. It's a good one. All right, moving on. What happens to the Republic of Rome? Well, eventually, as they expand, they start running into problems. It's hard to maintain order and peace and prosperity, and tensions rise and fighting increases. Eventually, it turns violent, and Rome ends up having a civil war. That's right. They're unable to keep their republic because the civil war causes a 60-year period of fighting. Eventually, somebody comes along who's able to save the day and stop the civil war fighting, and that person is Julius Caesar. Julius Caesar comes in with his military troops and one piece at a time brings peace back to Rome. Okay? He decides that, you know what? He's doing such a good job. He's going to declare himself sole ruler of the Roman Empire. This brings about an end to the Roman Republic because now he's the one that's going to be large and in charge. All right. We talked about how Julius Caesar is ultimately assassinated. He is murdered by Marcus, his buddy that kills him, along with other senators right there in the open on the Senate floor. There is a brief power struggle about who the heck is going to be the one in charge now that Julius Caesar is dead, and his adopted son named Octavian is the one that comes out on top. And Octavian will end up becoming the first emperor of the Roman Empire because we have gone from being a republic to an empire now that we're going to have a sole ruler. When he becomes the first emperor, Octavian changes his name to Augustus, and Caesar Augustus becomes the first emperor of the Roman Empire. All right. We talked about how he was a very liked Caesar. Okay, Caesar Augustus. He did a good job, and he's the one that ushers in a time of peace and prosperity that lasts for about 200 years. So we end up getting another good period of time for the Roman territory. Now that they're a Roman Empire, they're going to become powerful and productive once again. At the height of their power, the Roman Empire encompasses all of the Mediterranean Sea. They ruled that sea. They own all the land all the way around it. So they really had a foothold in trade on 3 continents. They own a huge chunk of Europe. They own the top northern piece of Africa. And they also own over into a little bit of Asia, including a little piece there of the Middle East. They are by far the largest empire or territory in the world at that time in history. You did not mess with the Romans, guys. You didn't do it. In fact, they had over 100 million people living in the Roman Empire. You got to remember, this is, about a couple thousand years ago. There's way less people on the earth. And to have 100 million people in one empire is insane. That's crazy. Okay, they had a lot of power. You didn't mess with Rome, man. They were top dog at the time. Okay, so we have 3 periods of Roman history for the most part. They're a kingdom for a while, they're a republic for about 500 years or so, and ultimately they end up becoming an empire. Now, while they're a kingdom and a republic, there's no such thing as Christianity yet. Most Romans are polytheistic. They believe in many gods, okay? After a while of being an empire, however, a guy named Jesus comes onto the scene and changes everything. All right. So Christianity, what's that all about? All right. Well, at the height of the Roman Empire's power, while most people are polytheistic, a guy named Jesus comes around and starts talking about a monotheistic religion called Christianity. That means there's only one God. Well, wait, hang on. That's different from everything that they had been practicing in the past, all right? And Jesus, his movement was gaining momentum. A lot of people liked the sound of this Christianity thing. They had kind of started to think that the Roman god system of multiple gods was complicated. They had kind of started to lose faith in some of those gods, and people liked the simplistic message of Christianity and the simple moral lessons of right and wrong that Jesus was teaching. Okay, so some people started to convert to Christianity, and Jesus starts to gain more and more momentum. Well, think about this from the perspective of the Roman leaders. They do not like that, all right? From their point of view, this Jesus guy, well, he's threatening their power, and they don't like that. Think about it. If you're a Roman leader and this movement of Christianity is pretty much just getting started, in your mind, you're thinking, if I take out the leader of this movement, what's probably going to happen to the movement itself? They're hoping it'll die out, right? So the Roman leaders get together and plot to decide that they want to capture Jesus and get him killed. Ultimately, they are successful in capturing Jesus. They hold a trial, which is a phony trial. They know from right away, from the very beginning, they're going to find him guilty. They do. And they end up crucifying Jesus, which was a common method of killing people by the Romans, okay? And killing him because they were hoping that would end Christianity, which obviously didn't work because it's one of the 3 leading religions in the world still to this day, 2,000 years later. Okay, so let's take a look at your yellow notes. If you look at your notes, you will see that we are down to number 19. Which religion started during the height of the Roman Empire's power? Christianity. That's right. Make sure, again, if something's in red, you use your super duper highlighter color. And if something is underlined in yellow, that you underline it with your summary vocab highlighter, okay? So Christianity gets started when the Roman Empire is at the height of its power. Number 20 talks about how Roman leaders felt about Jesus. Well, we talked about that a little bit. They don't like him. They feel like Jesus is a threat to their power and authority. They do not want Jesus around. They want all the power for themselves. The people were listening to the Roman authorities. The people did whatever the Roman authorities told them to do. The people would listen when the Roman authorities said, hey, worship all of our Roman gods. We're polytheistic. And then along comes this Jesus guy, and he's saying, no, you should put God first, not the Roman Empire first. And no, you shouldn't worship all those gods. There's only one God, my Father, says Jesus, right? And the Roman emperors and the Roman leaders and government did not like that at all. And that's why they ultimately decide to kill him. They're afraid of his threat to their power. Number 21, why does Rome put Jesus to death? Again, look at the last bullet point, guys. They are afraid of his growing influence. And they're hoping that by killing Jesus, they will squash this Christianity thing, which isn't how it works out, as you guys know, because Christianity is one of the main religions in the world today. There are lots of religions out there, you guys, lots and lots of them. But the top 3 religions in the world that most people practice are Christianity, Islam, and Hinduism. Okay? Some of you watching this lecture might be a Christian. If you're a Christian, it's important to know some of the background about Christianity and where it came from. Some of you watching this lecture might not be Christian. It's still important to know a little bit about its background and where it came from, because people you encounter throughout your life, some of them are going to be Christian, being one of the main religions in the world, right? So you should know a little bit about some of those more popular religions. All right? So it's still practiced to this day. Last video clip that is available for this PowerPoint, I highly recommend you guys watch that one. That will really help you understand the Christianity piece and how the first Christians are treated in Rome, which was not good. Christianity does not spread like wildfire, guys. It takes a long time to catch on. In fact, Christianity is deemed illegal for a while by the Roman emperors, and people who are caught practicing it have all kinds of horrible things happen to them. Watch the video clip to see how Christianity unfolds in the Roman Empire. All right? Again, you want to make sure that you look over your notes. You've highlighted everything you should highlight in red with your super duper highlighter color, and that you've highlighted any summary vocab words. You've underlined them with your summary vocab highlighter as well. All right, you guys? So hopefully you've got everything here that you want, and you can take a look at these review questions if you want to. Here we go. How does Rome begin? It starts as a settlement by the Tiber River in what is now Italy. What brings about the kingdom of Rome? The people overthrowing King Tarquin the Proud, who was a mean, nasty ruler. Why did Rome change from a republic to an empire? Okay, 3 steps, guys. 1, there's a civil war that breaks out and the Roman Republic is crumbling. 2, a powerful military leader comes in and saves the day, Julius Caesar, right? And he declares himself sole ruler of Rome, ending the Republic. Step 3, he never has time to declare himself emperor. That honor ends up ultimately going to his adopted son, Octavian, who changes his name to Augustus. Okay? How did Rome build such a powerful empire? Well, Augustus was a good ruler. He puts in a strong government, and then the rulers after him continue in that same method. All right? You're able to get this time of peace and prosperity that spreads for over a 200-year period. How does Christianity grow so powerful? Jesus had a simplistic message about a monotheistic religion, one God, his Father, that he starts spreading among the Roman people. People liked that simple message and the simple morals of right and wrong, and a lot of people started to convert. Not everybody. It does catch on slowly, and it takes a lot of years for a big chunk of the Roman Empire to be Christian. But he does have a big impact, and he does get several followers during his lifetime, and it only continues to grow after he dies. Okay. All right, you guys, that's it for this one. Hope you had a good time reviewing with me, and hopefully you got everything highlighted and you can go write your summary now. Don't forget to include every single word you underlined in your summary. Those count for points. There should have been 14 words you underlined, so make sure to include those. All right, we'll see you next time.